Hey everybody, it's Providence Hogan, owner here, not a lawyer, but an owner here who attended the meeting on August 11th. Now, we were given notice for that meeting in the elevators and on our Town Square app. There was not an email blast sent out. And as you know, since we only have 20 to 30 people living here full time, and the rest of the people are normally they get the email blast and are joined via Zoom, we had about 18 to 20 owners, and we had two board of directors there, Jack and Dale, and John Middendorf and Megan were via Zoom. It was, oops, it was an empty meeting with a lot of information, and it was about 3 hours worth. So I didn't realize how many people didn't know about the meeting until about an hour beforehand. So I did send out a video telling you all about the meeting and hoping that some people could jump on at the last minute. I had a discussion with Christian about this. I told him I didn't think it was really fair that they just moved over to Town Square, assuming that everybody could and would jump on the app, especially since we have so few owners that live here. There was maybe 20 owners, which is a good amount of owners for people who live here, but there were maybe 5 or 7 people on Zoom that I could see. The previous meeting I also taped, and Town Square had so many problems with their video that they did not put it up. I have a video. It works. The sound quality is not fantastic. If you want, I can do like an overview of it like this. At this time, I believe I'm well within my legal rights to give you the video, but I'm not going to do that yet because I don't want any trouble from the building. And, we need to follow what the board of directors says, and I'm not really interested in challenging everything with them in court. But nothing is stopping me from giving you an overview. If you want an overview of the previous meeting, please email me and I will create one. On this meeting, there were many sound issues, but on Associa's end, but I still hope that they will post it. I can offer them, and I have in the past offered them my videos. They've never taken me up on it. I can offer them this video, but like I said, anybody who spoke on Zoom did not come out clearly at all. I will be getting a better microphone for that, but well, you do what you can do. The most important part were the proposed budget recommendations that were done at the end of the meeting by Megan. Now, the reason that they're at the end of the meeting is because there were so many issues to talk about beforehand that included money that you kind of need to understand what's going on in the building and all of our costs in order to understand how she came up with what she came up with. So unfortunately, as much as I'd like to put the budgetary stuff at the beginning, it's going to be at the end. And let's see, when did she start talking about that? She started talking about that 1 hour and 48 minutes into my video. So just in case you get a video from Associa or they put my video up, that's where you'd find it if you can hear it. Okay, so we started by talking about the floods that are happening in the building. There were 4 floods in the past 2 weeks, and it's caused some major issues. There's a lot of fans going on in the building. It's going to add to our electrical bill. I don't know how much, but expect it to be much higher this month. And at 2:55, 2 minutes and 55 seconds into the meeting, that's when Jack brought this up. He said that this latest one, which was on the 4th floor, was unauthorized and not permitted. They didn't get permits. It was unauthorized by the buildings department, unauthorized by the building. And when that happens, that's a problem, of course. So that owner is going to have a lot of trouble with this and because of it. But I can tell you that we have a party here who warned about this person's activities for 5 days in a row before it happened. Terry Mulvey called down to the front desk at least 5 or 6 days in a row beforehand, and the front desk either did nothing about it or was told not to, or something in between. So this work went on for 5 days, and then finally it flooded, and it was a big flood on the 4th floor. I just want to mention, when you do things without permits, you end up in a bad way. This also, and as a person who has been really questioning the board of directors about how they don't get permits, how they don't follow the rules, and how everything ends up costing a lot more money than it should, for Jack to say that this person did things very much against the rules and that's not how we work, it kind of is how we work until it's not how we work. But just so that you know, if you need work done in your building, it is your responsibility to go to the buildings department, get your required permits, and tell the office and the front desk what's going on. I don't know if there's a permission situation that you have to go through with the board of directors. Did they, condo law and co-op law are two different things. I'm very familiar with condo law in New York City, less so in Florida. So, but do know you do have to go through the processes and get your own permits and let the office know what you're doing. Oh, I think I finally figured out how to not be out of so much glare. Okay, we'll try to do it. And at 6 minutes in, Jack mentioned that there are people complaining about the board of directors. I'm one of them. I did not start the Mary Jones group, but I'm become the face of it. And mentioned that he finds that when somebody is saying we, some of us, many of us, he finds it's actually only 2 or 3 people who don't like what they're doing. And I can tell you that there are many of us. It's simply that with all of the, I'll call it bullying and going after people in this building, there are a lot of people who are afraid to speak out. Now, I would not mind giving all of their names under seal to a judge, but I am not willing to give those names out to the board of directors here. So sorry. I've dealt with situations with some of them in the past. I still deal with some of it, and I wouldn't want anybody to go through what I've had to go through in order to just live here. So in order to make up for that, which he considers a lack of people's disliking what they do, they said that they're sending out surveys. They're sending out lots of surveys. I've received 1 survey. So if you have not received surveys, contact them and ask for the surveys so that you can give your opinion to things. At 7 minutes into the meeting, we got some very good news that a CAM was hired. Her name is Gail, and she's being trained right now. She's passed all of her evaluations, and she will be trained and starting with us on November 1st. 10 minutes in, we talked to a company called First Priority. The man who owns the company is Jason, and he's building structural and moisture maps. So this has to do with all the flooding, and he's the person the building has taken on to help with this. One thing and I liked the way he spoke. I liked the way he communicated with Christian from Associa. I certainly believe that we need outside companies coming in and making sure that the moisture of the building does not lead to mold or other deterioration. That's very important. And the thing to know about First Priority and Jason is that if you are told by the building that you are required to take care of any of the leakage or the moisture in your apartment or surrounding it, that Jason from First Priority does offer his services to you. That's just information for you. So we talked about that until about 26 minutes in. At 27 minutes in, they were talking about walking the building to find these structural issues and water leakage and that, and they expect the CAM to do that a couple of times a week. So that will be nice when that happens. It made me think of, when I think of walking the building, I think of how the front desk used to walk the building and the pool area and interact with people and tell them when, they were doing something wrong, that I really haven't seen happening. And it's caused some problems. So I would like that addressed myself, because I think that when we are here, since we're a building that has a high volume of visitors, temporary renters, and guests, that the front desk needs to be, in my opinion, as involved in it as they were from the beginning of this place becoming a condo up until about 2 years ago. At, I think it was 29 minutes into the meeting, we found out that someone was stuck in an elevator for 30 to 45 minutes. That when they pressed the button, the safety button, nobody at the front desk answered, and it went to a recording. Luckily, that person had their cell phone on them. They called the fire department, and the fire department got them out very quickly. So what was discussed was, well, that button should really always be answered by somebody at the front desk, but with one person at the front desk, they may have to have a potty break or something, and you might miss them. Of course, that's when these things happen, right? When people have to leave the front desk for a minute or 10 minutes. So the recommendation is, and I can't imagine life without it these days, always bring your cell phone with you wherever you go. There are a lot of people who walk around here without their phones. Especially if you're going to take the elevators until they're replaced, please bring your cell phones. And they're considering changing the service company for the elevators because they're not finding them to understand what's wrong. Now, these are very old elevators, but they're not happy with the service from the elevator service company. Honestly, when you have elevators this old, I'm not sure what that elevator service company can do to make sure your elevators don't break down. Now, maybe they don't answer the calls quick enough. Maybe they have a rote answer like, you need new elevators, and the board doesn't want to hear that. They want action. Could be the case. Okay, 39 minutes into the recording, we talked about the social committee's Halloween party, which is on October 28th. I think it's a Friday. And if you can go, enjoy. Let's see. Oh, at 1 hour and 22 minutes in, let me see. That doesn't make any sense. Let me see if I've got newer. Here we go. I found them. Okay, so at 1 hour and 11 minutes, we talked about the parking lot and the gates update. So when they paid a company to install our new gating system, apparently it did not include the podiums and the motors. I don't know why I thought it included everything, but the board held back $24,000 in payments. Maybe it's for that reason, but they didn't do the motors and the podiums. I don't know why they withheld the money. So theoretically, they've withheld $24,000, and that's going to go towards fixing the motors and the podiums. And that was approved by the board of an expenditure not to exceed $28,000. So that would be $24,000 that they did not give the company, and an additional $4,000. If it works out to be that amount, seems fair. But we talked about that we talked about the pier next. Oh my gosh. And the pier, this isn't all you're going to hear about the pier, but there was a lot of back and forth about the pier. The first thing I want to say is that Dale has been down there every minute of every day that anybody is down there. He has not missed a beat, and he has taken on running this and making decisions for it. At the same time, during this meeting, we learned that our $107,000 bid for rebuilding the whole pier wasn't going to work out. We're going to have to be charged more. They said there's quite an increase in cost. There have been design changes. There had to be design changes, of course. Something about the architect not needing to know about the changes, that there were changes needed for ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. I find it very hard to believe that an architect in the state of Florida does not know about the Americans with Disabilities Act. I know that a while back, just before the work stoppage, Terry Mulvey told Dale about how the ramp isn't going to work for ADA requirements. That led from now Dale saying it's the architect. I'm telling you that Terry Mulvey spoke to him, and in response to either the architect not knowing about this or Terry's information to Dale, that Dale decided to build a ramp out of concrete on the sidewalk and to lift up where the pier would go, so that the ramp for the wheelchairs would be of a decent descent. See, they can't be too deep, of course, and yet it still has to go down. So it was the building of that concrete ramp on the sidewalk that caused the work to be shut down on the pier. Now, again, like I said, Dale blamed the architect for all of this, but he himself has admitted that the quality of the pier is not as high as we wanted it to be. He was very frustrated by the job. Apparently, we were being sent 2x8s, that's 2 inches thick, 8 inches long, instead of 2x12, 2 inches thick, 12 inches long, which caused a lot of extra labor. And really, of course, it does. It makes it more flexible. The 8 feet pieces had to be turned into 12-foot pieces. That's never fantastic. And that my only question to that is, well, when the 8-foot planks arrived, why didn't you return them for 12-foot planks? The architect does the plans and sets things up, but it's really the contractor who does the ordering, accepts the orders, and has things go through. I don't know if Dale is working as the contractor or who was, but it's that person's issue. Anyway, so the work has stopped for so long. It seems to me that we could have sent back those 8-foot beams and gotten 12-foot ones. But that was not done. So they spliced them together. Okay, 1 hour and 22 minutes in, Jack said that there was never a stop work order on the pier. So I am attaching to this video the stop work order of the pier. And I am asking Jack, why do you feel as though it's acceptable to lie to people during a meeting? And if this is the small thing that you're lying about, have you lied about anything else? So as you can tell, that really angers me when someone will out and out lie to you at a meeting. Another thing is, if someone can't make eye contact with you, there's a problem. So he also said that the deck itself will be finished by October 31st. As I do this, it's October 13th. Nobody's been working out there. Now, yesterday, we had typhoon or tornado. I understand that. Nobody's working out there today. So will the pier deck itself be finished by October 31st? No, hell no. Hell no. But that does not mean, even if it was, and I'll bet you a nickel that it's not, but having the deck itself taken and fixed does not mean we can use it, because there's railings, et cetera, that need to be put in place, and they're working on that. And they're still working with the DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection. So they went on about how much, now, what's wrong with this, who they're blaming, why it's so messed up. It's all blame, blame, blame. And then they're talking about their initial estimates that they got from 3 companies. They got an estimate for $109,000. They got one for $169,000, and they got one for $225,000. And lo and behold, they went for the 109. And this is 2 or 3 years ago, right? The waste of time, energy, and having to obfuscate around our questions. Anyway, now they're estimating. I got this out of them finally after 15, 20 minutes of people getting more and more upset during the meeting. Tell us. They're like, no, we're not telling you till we've done with our discussion. Whatever. They're now estimating that it'll cost $209,000. They have paid $105,000 to date. They have made some changes to the design of the pier that they're saying are for the benefit and to make it stronger and to last longer. And so that's an additional $16,000. And that is, for the changes they're talking about, using higher quality stainless steel, the various things, you make these changes all the time when you're doing construction. So that doesn't really bother me. So now they're estimating a $209,000 charge plus $16,000, and they've paid $105,000 to date. Jack said that, they're taking these bids, these dream bids. Well, that's not how you take a bid. He also said that he's been on the board for years and that he knows how this stuff is done, and yet they keep making the same mistakes over and over. Let me explain bidding to you just a little bit as a person who's given bids, as a person who's received bids and has had to choose contractors and has been her own contractor for her own projects, okay? You will always take 3 bids for every single project. If there's a dream bid, and there usually is somebody who comes in way down low, that is the person that you especially have to ask for 3 to 5 references, and you call all 3 to 5 references. And actually you do that for all of your bids, because sometimes the most expensive bid is going to be the one that is done on time, that you have the least amount of problems with, where the architect knows what they're talking about, and where the contractor oversees everything properly. And now for my small business, when I had 3 contractors and I had a nice guy in, I had a medium bid, and then I had a high-end bid. It was for a day spa. And I wanted so much to take the low-end bid. But in speaking to his references, they all said, he's a really nice guy. He really would love to do this for you, but there's just no way he can. He is never correct. And his work is mediocre. So I had to say goodbye to the dream bid. I then went to the middle bid and was told that they are fantastic. They're nothing special. They are just quick and dirty vanilla construction, but their estimates are honest and very close to it, and they're on time. And that's the one I went for. Because they were absolutely on time. Their estimates were completely right. The high-end bid that I took was for very fancy construction, and while that would have been nice, I didn't need to do it. So that's kind of how that should work. And if they were transparent, they would have told us that, but under no circumstance. And dream bids is a term that was used by Jack, that we're taking bids that are dream bids. There's a problem with that. Anyway, so let's move on. Next is the seawall. The seawall has not begun yet. There have been some very low estimates on that, estimates that have made the board of directors feel as though they don't have to come to us with, now they're calling it a repair, but they actually want to change it considerably. I'm not going to go into that right now, but Jack said the seawall would cost $170,000. He also said that he wouldn't be surprised if they came in $60,000 or $70,000 under budget. How is it that somebody who's part of a block of people who consistently makes these mistakes over and over and over again, what experience does he even have to say that? Like, oh, don't worry that we have to overspend here because we're going to underspend over here. But that's not going to happen. Again, I bet you a nickel, it's not going to happen. Now, he also said that the seawall work had to be done according to our plan. I forgot what it's called. This is the only time we've heard of the $170,000 estimate, because when Stephanie was our CAM and sent out her meeting, it said seawall repair. Jack Fleming made the motion to engage seawall design engineer Ruben Clarkson Consulting to generate the site design and plans to be used in permitting the accepted contract through Mark Pinson Paving Restoration in the amount of $70,000, basically, to repair the seawall. Everybody except Peter Coleman voted for that. So these numbers are just thrown around like, you wouldn't know. But anyway, there is a study done every so often. And in that study, oh my gosh, if I can find it, blah, blah, blah. It talks about what needs to be done to, it's called there it is. It's called the please forgive me. The reserve report. Information about the pool and what is needed is in the reserve report. And, I'll ask you to take a look at it to see what you think is needed for the seawall. Clearly needs repair. Does it need to be extended up a number of feet for an unknown amount of money when we have so many other things happening? I don't know the answer to that question. I think that the board is going to make their decisions based on their desires. And would it be nice to have that extra number of feet on the other side of the pool to put chairs out? Absolutely. Does it need to be done for the right reasons? Yes. Does it need to be done at the right time? Yes. Does it need to be done for the right amount of money? Yes. And that's just my take on that. Okay, so we head back to a discussion about the pier, which was very heated. Dale was very angry about it. So Dale says that every time he emails them about the work, they say that they have to stop work and fix the issue with their emails and get on the same page before they move forward. Doesn't sound that bad to me. Dale admitted that his emails to them can be passionate. So, he said, when I send emails, they stop working and say we have to figure something out. And that is how a contractor works. It's best, I think, to have these, my opinion, it's best to send flat emails, and it's best to have person-to-person discussions every week. But hey. Jack said that at 1 hour 39 minutes in, he said that they're working on a plan the day of the meeting to get on the same page and to talk about all their finer details and that additional 16,000 that they want to spend to get better materials on the pier, and then they'll find out the details of the meeting. Well, but he never said that he'd get back to us about what was happening. I suppose we'll find out. Well, those of us who live here will look out the window every day and see whether or not work is being done, and the rest of us will find out at the next meeting on November 2nd, maybe November 2nd. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, Jack said at 1 hour 45 minutes in that we should be fully funded by 2025. He went on to explain what fully funded meant, and I'm not going to take the time to explain that to you now, but if you have any questions, get back to me or contact him and ask. The elevators need addressing now, and that is a fact. People are getting stuck in those elevators. The fire department's being called. The problem is that 2 years ago or whenever, the estimate was $1.5 million. So the question is how to get that money, and if you're going to bring it from, say, 10th on the list to 2nd on the list, how to get that money sooner, right? They also talked about the storm panels. Now, this is what I remember from the last meeting. My notes are not here, but I do have the recording. We have the option of renting the storm panels for $4,000 a month, for the rest of the time that we have them. And what would happen is every day before the hurricane, this company would come and install the panels just a few days before a hurricane and then take them down after the hurricane. They intimated that your insurance pricing will go down, but they think that that's really only going to happen if you're a renter, because the quality of their work in installing these panels is what would allow the insurance companies to believe that they're installed correctly, therefore warranting lower insurance costs. That's what I remember from the meeting. What Jack said, and I think at that point they had already said that they'd want to purchase the panels. Now the panels are $250,000. And yes, if you take $4,000 a month, $250,000 is spent in a number of years, 8 years max. However, they're saying that they want to purchase them now, which would save money over time. He's saying that he would not be surprised that he had heard, that he was told by the panel guy that our flood insurance could decrease by 50% or more. I'd like to see that in writing. I'd like proof that other condominiums have done that. I'd like proof that other condominiums that install the panels themselves get that kind of deduction. You can tell when my opinion comes in, right? I don't have to say it every single time. That was my opinion. And there are a number of other things that were not talked about, like the ELSS assessment, which as far as I know, is still necessary to be had by January of 2024. We need we just need to tell the city who's going to be working on it for us. But we do need to be planning that into the budget, because if we don't do the ELSS, and this is basically a sprinkler system in our hallways, if we don't get that done right and do it right on time, Florida is going to make us put them inside of every apartment, which is going to be a huge cost and financial disaster and assessments and all of that stuff. So they didn't even go over that, and that's just 3 months before it's necessary. Maybe they're waiting till after the election to find out if they even have to deal with it. I do not know. So then came Megan in at 1 hour and 48 minutes, and she spoke for 45 minutes or so. And given you everything that we've talked about, and I've probably missed a few things when it comes to money. Oh, gosh. Okay, I'll talk about the animals after that. I missed an entire page. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, wait. I have to do this right. Oh, yeah, and Dale said that he hoped we don't have to go to litigation over the pier. the amount of money that they can spend on legal firms is fantastic, isn't it? Okay, so Megan went over our budget and she put together a fantastic spreadsheet. And that right now she's expecting, she talked about our reserve amounts, our general pool of money, our structural pool of money. You need to look at this on your own. I'm not going to act as a financial person for this. We'll leave that to Megan. She thinks that next year our repair and maintenance should be about 90% of what it was this year. I'm not exactly sure why she said that. And Dale brought up that we paid $20,000 in what's it called, when you get interest on our insurance, and he would like to have that paid off by May or June. Megan had a good reason for having our insurance financed at the time. I'm sure you can ask her. I asked her, she gave me a very good answer. And so but if you take into account all of our spending for next year, we will be $600,000 underwater. And there's a lot of different scenarios that Megan went through. And so this is what I'm going to talk about next, is assessments versus raising in the HOA. Megan recommended so what it looks like it's going to come up to is Megan discussed how she prefers to think of assessments in terms of your monthly fee. So if she says a 1 month assessment, it's one additional payment of your HOA fee. If she says 2, it's twice. If she says 3, it's 3 times. The other options we have are to raise our HOA fees by 5%, 10%, or 15%. Now, she did this very, very slowly, and the numbers I'm throwing at you are coming very, very quickly. But it seems to me as though they're going to be asking people what you prefer, to have your HO fees raised or to have special assessments. And it looks as though we are at least going to be asked for a 1 month special assessment or 5% increase in HOA fees, or a 2 month special assessment or 10% in HOA fees, or a 3 month special assessment or 15% raise in HOA fees. And those would be coming, they'd be staggered. So it's my opinion that they will ask for 2 to 3 assessments or the raised, depending on. And if we go with assessments, it would happen before we need to pay things off. So they would happen, say, she had said March and May, then she went, well, maybe May and September, just different things like that. So just be warned, go over the budget. Don't be afraid to ask Megan about this, which leads me to another thing before I get on to the thing about pets. When Megan came onto the board, she asked that she be made president. That was denied by John, Jack, and Dale. And she asked that she be made vice president. That was denied by John, Jack, and Dale. Jack became president, John became vice president, and Dale became treasurer. Dale knows nothing about money in terms of what a treasurer would need to know about money. Megan has history in finance. She has, from the beginning of this, acted as the treasurer for us. And she has given Dale reports and told him what to say to make him look good, make him sound good, get the information across, but he could never answer questions. And that's not everybody's gig. You don't have to be perfect at everything, right? He's good at what he's good at. Well, finally, this time when it came to the budget, they put it on Megan. I think they trust her enough that they would call her the treasurer next time. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't. The positions are very political. That's if they get rehired for if they get reelected for next year. So the person who was most skilled at being the treasurer was not put in as the treasurer. And we've had to deal with a lot of nonsense and stupidity surrounding that. Now it seems as though they trust her enough to allow her to face forward and give these reports. And she did a very nice job of it. It's not up to me to tell you what I think in terms of assessments versus HOA fees. Everybody's pocketbook is their own, and you need to decide these things on your own. But I wouldn't take for 1 minute that any of our insurances will be going down by very much, or that work that needs to be done is going to be coming in under budget, especially with this group of board members. Okay, now let's get to the animals. That was a big deal. They're going to be the rules for the animals will be dealt with in November. If you have any questions, I'm not sure. I think they said they're going to send it out to you, and you can write back and put in what you feel. Basically, here's what I heard from it. that any animal that comes to Regatta has to have their paperwork all filled out and sent to Regatta before they get here. Now the question came up, what if a yearly renter or a 3-month renter or anybody came in without that paperwork done? And the person who was in charge of the committee on this, Mr. Herbst, recommended that they board the animal. To that, there were groans all over, all over the meeting. And I would groan too. I think that that would be very rude. But then on the other hand, we have really careless people who come here. Some are owners, some are renters, some are visitors, who bring their animals and allow them to pee and poo and leave it there. That's pretty damn rude. Now, if you're like me and you see something like that, and another woman in the meeting spoke up and said that this is what she does, is you get your paper towels, you get your cleaning solvents, and you clean it up, and that's it. I take it one step further. I don't know if she does, but I also then call the front desk and say, hey, this is what happened. I cleaned it up, but you're probably going to want to have somebody come and clean it better. So those are kind of two sides to the coin there. So, you know, the Rules Committee has had 6 open meetings about this, and I'm sure they didn't get many people coming to the meetings. I don't know if they Zoom them or not, but it does seem that there's a little bit of kickback on their final decisions. In which case, you know, it's up to you to get that report and look at those and give the board of directors your feedback based on it. One of the things about Regatta Beach Club is that we've always been a pet-friendly building. We're one of the few on the beach that are pet-friendly, and we are dealing with. I have a problem. Okay, I'll tell you. I have a problem with imposing harsh rules, like your dog has to go to school before they can come here. Harsh rules like that on people when what we're dealing with are certain people who are just bad dog owners. And I don't believe in making blanket rules when what you're dealing with is very specific. But if that's what the building wants, if that's what the committee rules want, and if that's what the board members vote in, then that's just what it's going to be. So your voice needs to be heard. So many notes. Okay, various people were able to speak at the meeting, and so there is a bit of differing opinions when it comes to everything that we've talked about. You know, one person wanted to stagger the elevators repairs, replacements. The board and a lot of other people felt that that was so emergent that no, it really needs to be taken care of ASAP. Some people want the rent flood guards, the rent flood panels installed and rented, as opposed to purchased. I gave you the discussion previously in this video. Think about it, try to talk to people, make your views known. A hurricane that hits us directly or even indirectly could cause us to lose power to this building for a very long time. There are people in Fort Wayne who have been out of their buildings for over a year. What does that mean for your monthly fee? What does it mean for your property? So take this very seriously. And some people, yeah, so that was some of the feedback. I didn't write down everybody's feedback, or my hands wouldn't work. Last thing is Yes Energy. When Yes Energy comes in and they can't read our meters, they estimate them. Now we've got people at the front desk. I see no reason for them to ever not be able to read the meters, but when that happens, of course, they're going to give a meter reading, an estimate. Some people's electricity prices have doubled in the past year or two, and so that's not acceptable. I think the board, for visual aspects as well as possibly real aspects, wants to get rid of Yes Energy. And so here's how your electric bill works. You pay for your apartment, of course, but do you know that the common expense, electrical expense, is also put into your bill? So what they do is they take the common expense for the building and they divvy it up, they portion it up based on the size of your apartment, and that's what you pay. It seems like a bass-ackwards way to do things to me, because I spoke to Yes Energy and I spoke to Chris, our interim CAM. And Yes Energy told me that, well, when we overcharge you, we give the money back to the building. We don't give it back to the individuals. So if you're being overcharged and we're getting refunds for that, you don't know about it. That money goes into the pool, the operating pool for the building. You might agree that that's a cool way to do it. Others might say, you know, if I'm paying this out of my electric bill, it's basically an addition to my HOA fee. I want my money back. Others might say, I don't want my communal electricity to be on my personal bill. I want that to be included in my HOA fees. So those are your options. Let the board know what you think. One person mentioned that just for the purpose of having Yes Energy, we pay $40 a month in administrative fees to Yes. Well, yeah, that's true. Look, I'm from New York. We have Con Ed. We pay them. I don't use my electricity. It goes way down. I use my electricity. It goes way up. I don't have these issues. I don't understand why Florida is like this, but it is. And then after 2 hours and 45 minutes of this meeting, it was just ended. It was ended. It needed to end, but people had things to say. So, you know, the board of directors made it a point of saying, we are speaking in front of you and having these conversations in front of you. You know, we're not allowed to speak during them because it's their conversation. I get that. So that you understand our process. Well, I really don't care about your process personally. I care about what's the information, what do we need to do about it, and be honest with us. Which, you know, in my opinion, we get intermittently from certain people on this board of directors. I once had a president of a board who every meeting was 2 to 3 hours. It was insane. Our next board president came in and was able to do everything in 40 minutes. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own different things, but I am, you know, I don't like sitting through 3-hour meetings, and 2, I really am a big believer in having monthly meetings that are set at a certain time so that everybody can show up, hear what's going on, and make their opinions known. To have less than 30 people at this meeting, 30 departments represented at this meeting, is a real shame. So I hope that Associa gets you. Oh, also Associa told me that if you do not have access to an app on your phone, you don't know how to use it, contact them and they will figure out how to get you on an email blast. Personally, I think they already have an email blast. All right, guys, that's it. That's much shorter than 2 hours and 45 minutes. If you have any questions, ask the board of directors. You can certainly ask me and I can go over my recordings, but you know, there's a place for this type of inquiry and it is the board of directors. All right, have a lovely day. Bye.